If your porn blockers were turned off tomorrow morning, would you actually be at peace, or are you just relying on digital cage to keep you clean? Here's the truth, you don't even need blockers in the first place. If you think that blockers are the main solution that will make you overcome porn addiction, well, I have some bad news for you. They will never make you overcome this addiction. You might hear a lot of people that overcame this addiction because of the blockers, but trust me, they will come back to it soon. And so in this video, I want to talk about how to overcome PIED, which stands for porn-induced erectile dysfunction. And PIED is a type of psychological ED, which stands for erectile dysfunction, where habitual excessive pornography use desensitize the brain reward system, which is called dopamine, so you can understand, or specifically the D2 dopamine receptors, and this causes men to struggle with arousal or maintain an erection during the real life intimacy. And even though you have no problems getting aroused while watching pornography, so you need pornography in order to get aroused, but when it comes to having a real intimate relationship at real time or spontaneous with your wife or with your partner or with a girl, it's hard. Actually, it's not hard, it's soft. And so I will tell you everything that you need to know in order to overcome erectile dysfunction. I know it's a big pain in the ass, but if you do what I'm going to tell you in this video, it's pretty easy for you to come back and actually enjoy real time with your partner. And so the first factor that I want to talk about is desensitization versus resensitization, the dopamine reset. And so PIED happens because your brain's reward system has been artificially hijacked. That means you no longer get real source of dopamine, you get artificial source of dopamine from pornography. And so high-speed internet porn delivers a massive and natural flood of dopamine that no real-world human interaction can match. Because all you have to do is go and find the perfect video for you to go and relapse on. And the problem with pornography is that you can choose whatever you want. If you want blondes, you can go for blondes. If you want brunettes, you can go for brunettes, and so on. And this is a big problem if you tell me, because this will essentially make you desensitized to real women. And so to protect itself, here I'm talking about the brain, this constant dopamine storm, your brain downregulates its dopamine receptors and it essentially numbs itself. And so the problem here is that when you are with a real partner, the natural amount of dopamine released is too low to trigger those numbed receptors. And so your brain doesn't register enough excitement, so it fails to signal the physical response required for an erection. And so here is kind of what it's gonna look like. As you can see, this is the baseline, and this is the peak. This is when you are basically having an orgasm. And this is what happens afterward when you're gonna watch this artificial, porn that will give you obviously fake or artificial amount of dopamine, which will desensitize you over time. And so every single time you're having this orgasm from pornography, you're gonna hit this peak essentially. The more you're gonna watch pornography, the more the baseline needs to go up more and more and more. The more the baseline will go up, the more you need very specific type of content that will give you this peak again, so you can actually have a real orgasm. And so you're gonna go from watching two people, have an intimate relationship into some very dark places, like probably transgender or maybe gay. And so the 90-day fix in order to fix this obviously is that when you completely remove the hyper stimulus, which is obviously here in this case porn and artificial dopamine spikes, for only 90 days, well, your brain undergoes upregulation. And so your dopamine receptors naturally, obviously it's all natural, you don't need to go to a doctor, everything is natural, to multiply and become highly sensitive again. And so real world intimacy, touch, and visual connection becomes powerful enough to easily trigger a strong neurological response. And so here essentially what's gonna happen is that when you're gonna stop watching pornography for the next couple months, well, the baseline will start to resensitize itself and it's gonna go down. And the more your baseline is down, the more obviously you will start to enjoy small things just by literally walking in the nature. Your brain will start to produce dopamine out of nowhere just because of your baseline that is low, of course. And so the second thing that I want to talk about, which is breaking the screen to hand conditioned reflex. And so the human brains learn through conditioning. if you have spent months or years training your nervous system to achieve arousal exclusively while staring at a screen, while obviously sitting completely still and using manual stimulation, your brain will obviously build a rigid neural pathways. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what it's fake. Your brain, every single time you're gonna watch pornography, your brain will actually think they are actually having an intimate relationship in real time, but it's not the case because it's all artificial. And so the more you're gonna keep watching pornography, the more your brain will get used to it by connecting those neural pathways. And when you transition to a real partner this time, after stopping watching pornography, where you are moving, interacting, and not looking at digital pixels anymore, while your brain doesn't recognize the environment as the arousal cue. Because remember what I told you previously, it's all connected in your brain, and it created these neural pathways that are very specific, that for you, if you want to feel aroused, all you have to do is watch pornography. And so a 90-day break completely starves the screen-conditioned neural pathways, allowing it to weaken and atrophy. And simultaneously, it allows your nervous system reconnect arousal to actual human presence, touch, and energy. Which is watching pornography, which created those very specific neural pathways, stopping actually consuming those type of sexual content for next couple months will eventually create new neural pathways that will be compatible with real human presence, touch, and obviously energy, like I've said previously. The third thing that I want to talk about, which is one of the best things you can do, I've never seen someone talking about it, that's why obviously I made this video as well, to give you this fix, which is semen retention. And obviously I'm going to explain to you how semen retention accelerates the fix. So while stopping porn fixes the neurological side, semen retention, avoiding ejaculation, including from masturbation as well, provides the physical and psychological leverage to speed up their recovery. And so here is something that I want to talk about, which are the two main things that are very important here if you want to recover as quick as possible, which is the androgen receptors and upregulation. So studies show that a period of abstinence from ejaculation helps upregulate the androgen receptors in the brain and the body. And this makes your system significantly more sensitive to testosterone, which directly regulates your morning mood, baseline libido, and erectile quality. And so as you can see here, there is a quick little presentation of what I'm explaining here. And so semen retention stops dopamine burnout by cutting out the chronic and natural dopamine spikes, like obviously high-speed porn and overstimulation of this amount of dopamine that you're gonna get, which obviously will make you desensitized to real human or real human touch. And so you take the constant stress off your system, and this allows the androgen receptors AR in section A, as you can see, this is the section A. Let me actually zoom on it. Here we go. This is the first section, to naturally multiply and desensitize, which is called obviously here in this case upregulation, and the cellular locks open back up. And so retention maximizes hormone efficiency, and semen retention helps stabilize baseline testosterone and potent androgens like DHT. Because your cellular locks are now fully open and receptive, the testosterone moving through your body can actually bind efficiently to your cells. And so the physical payoff, which is obviously the section C here, as you can see in this picture, when your higher hormone availability meets fully responsive recovery the receptors, you unlock the maximum benefits in the section C, as you can see in this picture, exploding your physical drive, hardening your muscle density, and leaning out your body composition, and completely restoring natural reproductive health. And so building sexual energy friction is obviously by retaining, you accumulate the natural sexual tension, and this building pressures forces your brain out of its passive, numb state and drastically increases your baseline desires. It acts as a biological force in function that overrides the performance anxiety. And so the second thing is obviously the aggressive psychological ownership. Instead of viewing yourself as someone who is broken or who is trying to fix a malfunction, retention flips your identity, and you shift from a state of depletion to a state of discipline and high vitality, which completely smashes the psychological performance anxiety that often looks BIED in place. Because most of people, when they have this erectile dysfunction, they stop having this confidence in themselves and they think that they are losers and they can no longer pleasure their wife or their partners in general. And so here is what it looks like in general, if I can put it in a case. So the first phase is the shock phase, which is obviously between the first and the 15 first days-ish, something like that. What is happening inside is that your brain experiences severe dopamine withdrawal. You will face heavy craving, irritability, and your brain will try to convince you to test your erections with porn. And obviously, you should not do this. The second thing is the flat line, which is obviously the second phase of this, and what's gonna happen after a couple days, after day 16 to 45-ish. And of course, this is not accurate 100%. Everyone have his own body, and it depends on each person's body. What's happening here is that it's a very crucial phase. Your libido might drop to absolute zero, but your system goes completely dead silent as the dopamine receptors begin to reset. And many men panic here thinking that they are broken forever, but in reality, this is just the exact window where deep neurological healing takes place. And trust obviously the process and hold the line. Don't go on relapse. The third thing, which is kind of like, I like to call it the awakening, which starts after a couple 50s, 60s days, something like that. The natural libido begins to return, and you will notice the return of the consistent, rock-hard morning wood. Your brain starts responding to thoughts and real-world interactions rather than digital triggers. You might also experience wet dreams as well. If it's the case, it's all good, it's not a big problem, don't worry about it, and it doesn't count as a relapse as well. And the last one, which is obviously the last phase that we want, is called the rewire, which is of course after a couple days. For some people, it might be less than 70 days. For another people, it might be more than 90 days. Like I've told you, it really depends on each person's body. And so your dopamine baseline stabilizes, the mental fog clears, the confidence spikes due to retention, and your brain is fully primed to connect physically, responsiveness, back to real human intimacy. And so here, you will not only fix your erectile dysfunction, you will also fix your identity and your physical world, your mental world, and so on. Plenty amount of factors will improve over time. And so the loop stops when you finally break it into the light. All you have to do is do everything I told in this video, every single actionable step, and I promise you, you will see some results. But if you want to overcome it as quick as possible, overcome porn addiction, but also fix your erectile dysfunction, all you have to do is click the first link in the description and book a free discovery call. It's a completely private one-on-one discovery call with me, and we will see how we can help you, but also if you are a good fit when it comes to our coaching program. As you can see, we've made all of those people overcome porn addiction, so if you want to overcome it as quick as possible, then just book a free discovery call. Trust me, it's gonna be worth it. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, leave me in the comments, and remember that life is all about lessons. Learn as much as you can. I love you and take care of yourself.